action.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, wonderful. Well, and thank you, Lisa, for mentioning. Big part of what I'm going to share today are some of my go-to tools and resources for out-of-school time program evaluation, both very low-cost tools as well as those that are a little spendier. And so, yeah, so glad you mentioned that wonderful thing about out-of-school time is that it is a very well-established field. Lots of folks have been thinking about it, studying, learning about it for a long time. And have figured out a lot of really great resources around evaluation. So no need to start from scratch, but rather to start from the great resources that are out there. Okay. Maybe one more volunteer, just an aha moment that you had talking with your peers, something that really came to mind, either about the ways that you're currently evaluating your out-of-school time program, or a favorite evaluation resource. All right. Well, if y'all think of anything or want to hop in, please do feel free. We're a nice small group today and want to be sure to keep learning from one another. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I call my super simple framework for evaluating out-of-school time programs. And this is one that we have used at Public Profit. We're almost 15 years old as an organization that we've used with hundreds of out-of-school time programs in all different sorts of settings, and it's worked pretty darn well for us. And I'm excited to share it with you today. So the high level of the super simple framework is that regular participation in high quality programs benefits youth and families. Sorry, mom and dad, for paying for all that graduate school for me. That's all that time and money. And here's what I spend my time doing. But this is a deceptively simple model that when we think about ways that after school evaluation is often conducted, some of the things Lisa mentioned really resonated with me. We often focus on the right-hand side that benefits youth and families, and don't have a whole lot of information about the quality of our programs, the kinds of experiences our young people and our teams are having. And we don't always connect that to participation and engagement. And so it really is skipping right past the things that your ELO-P program is doing, offering, and frankly, that you have the most control over. So I'm going to delve into a little bit more depth into each of these areas, but just want to say that for me, in evaluation of out-of-school time programs, it's really essential that you're looking at some measure of participation and engagement, some measure of the quality of the program, and then some measure of the benefits to young people and possibly to their families, again, depending on the model that you have. So let's dig into this a little bit. So when I'm thinking about regular participation, I am thinking about attendance and persistence at the youth level. So this is, and we can just put in our minds, right? If you go to the gym once, you probably are going to have fewer long-term outcomes for your health than if you go to the gym 5 days a week for 6 weeks. Same idea for our out-of-school time programs, that attendance and persistence, not just at the aggregate level. Yes, we want to know that our programs are fully enrolled, but our young people coming on a fairly regular basis, that's that attendance, for a fairly long period of time, that's that persistence. This has given us a couple different signals. One, this is helping us to see, get a bead on what proportion of our young people are going to be most likely to benefit from participating. Again, if they show up once and then leave, we all know that there's very little chance that they're going to have, many measurable outcomes based on their participation. If they're regular attendees for a long period, that's a much stronger chance they're going to be able to benefit from being with us in our program. It also helps to give us a read of the extent to which kids are staying in our program. Are they voting with their feet, cycling in and out, or are they staying relatively consistently in our program? So again, regular participation, that's those attendance and persistence measures. And again, we'll talk in just a minute about some free and lower cost tools that you can use to get information about that for your program. Now, high quality programs is really critical. And again, this is really that hinge between attendance and benefits for young people. And so very important to incorporate that into your evaluation framework. And so when we're thinking about that, I'm often thinking about positive youth development frameworks, which really underlie so much of what out-of-school time in California is about. There's opportunities for belonging, for voice and choice, developing a sense of mastery, learning new things, creating positive relationships with peers and adults, all that good stuff. We also then are going to be interested in the side to which there's the implementation of the program is consistent and in line with the things that you set out to do, as well as young people's experiences. And so oftentimes when we're thinking about high quality programs, we're both looking at some structural things. So are there things in place like staff training, high quality materials, those sorts of foundational elements, as well as the actual experiences of young people in your program on a day-to-day that you'd be getting through observations as well as young people's feedback. So that's really what I'm talking about when I'm talking about high quality programs. And to Lisa's great point earlier, this is a place where you're going to want to be really thoughtful about what your program is designed to do, what is it intending to do, so that then when you're looking at measures of program quality, you're really mapping back to what you're designed and intending to do. Next stop on the train is the benefits to youth and families. And you'll note that I'm intentionally not saying outcomes, in part because outcomes often imply a causal relationship between your out-of-school time program and an observed change. Most of us are not in a position to be doing the kinds of studies that would allow us to say, capital I impact that causal relationship. We're really looking for correlations. We're looking for relationships between that attendance, persistence, quality of the experience, and our young people and families telling us that they're better off. The thing I want to really hone in on is this idea behind direct and contributory outcomes. So when I say direct outcomes, what I'm thinking of are things that we want to have happen for every kid, every time. So those are things like feeling safe, feeling like we belong, learning new things, getting help with homework, making new friends. Those things that our programs are designed to do and really holding themselves accountable for. Those and those are also known as proxy outcomes. I like direct better, it's a little easier to remember. Contributory outcomes then for out-of-school time are those things that are really important for kids and families, we care about a lot. Our out-of-school time program is contributing to them, but is not driving them directly. So that's going to be things like school day attendance and chronic absence, grades, test scores, social emotional well-being, things that, again, our out-of-school time program is helping to help make happen, but we know that there are innumerable factors that are affecting our young people. So as an evaluator, I would really encourage you to think about how to lean in on those direct things. What are the every kid, every time kinds of experiences, signals, benefits that our program is designed to do? And definitely look for evidence of some of those contributory outcomes, because those are usually the ones we're very interested in from a life course perspective. But don't put those at your doorstep. No one program is going to be able to be entirely in charge of a kid's grade or entirely in charge of a kid's test score. And it's not fair to your program's design, much less your evaluation, to really have that be the main thing that you're focused on. So for me, the star of the show is the quality of your programming. And that, in my experience as an evaluator, gives you such rich, actionable, important information that you can use in lots of different ways, not just to be reporting to the folks you need to be reporting to about how things are going, but also giving really great signals, really great information to your staff, to your team, to yourself about what's working and what can be different. And also really prioritizing the voice and experience of young people, really centering their experiences, their opinions in your evaluation. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this is often overlooked in evaluations in my experience. And actually, I think for multiple reasons, really the part of your evaluation that I would encourage you to focus on most closely. In a sec, I'm going to share some of my go-to resources for participation, quality, and benefits to youth and families. Before I do that, I want to pause and see if y'all have any clarifying questions for me about the super simple framework. Anything I can do to make sure that this is making sense for you and resonating with your situation, your context. And we will be posting the slides, so all this will be available to you.
I guess. So I just want to, you're going to be going through some tools that we can use for these. I mean, I'm hearing this and we worked together years ago, right? And I'm like, I know this stuff, but I'm like, now I'm at a point where like, we need to overhaul and change things, and like those tools, those resources are like, yeah,
they're coming.
I think you do her.
I got them for you. And I do want to say that I'm just mindful of our context here, that Eva and I are here presenting at the invitation of the California After School Network, sharing some resources that we like as professionals and would encourage you to look into. It doesn't mean that they're endorsed by the CDE, doesn't mean that you're required to use them, none of those things. So we know you have the internet too, we know you have Google too. And so, of course, just want to emphasize that these are the tools I'm going to share, some that I really like and think are high quality. And that's my professional opinion, but it is not an endorsement or a requirement by any stretch of the imagination. Every once in a while, something will come back to me and will say, Corey said that the state said, oh no, definitely not. Great. Well, let's talk about those resources. And again, in the slide deck that we're going to post, these are all hot links to the websites of the resources, so you can navigate to them directly. I just wanted to give you a sense of some of these. So the top line, the light green is our cents. Those are free or lower cost resources that are likely available to you or that are easily accessible. The dollar signs and the gold at the bottom are things that do have a fee attached to them. So for your enrollment and attendance information, for many of you, because you are in a school district setting, using your student management information system, whether that's PowerSchool, Aries, whatever it is that you all are using, is one of the ways that you can be tracking attendance. Most student MIS systems enable you to create an activity called out of school time programs and all of those things. So it's definitely something to consider. Depending on the context that you're in, that may not be available to you. And so I would encourage you to consider something like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. Those are handy because they are on most of our computers, pretty easy to understand. It does raise some privacy concerns depending on the kinds of information that you are keeping in that sheet. So would definitely encourage you to think carefully about how to keep information like kids' names and other sensitive details as private as possible. We work with programs who, for example, take attendance on paper and then just one person enters that information into their Excel spreadsheet or whatnot, just to keep the amount of sensitive information running around as limited as possible. Surprise, surprise, there are lots of companies who have discovered the out-of-school time. There are many out-of-school time programs in the world, and that taking attendance is a really fundamental feature. These are 4 of the systems that we have seen our clients use and we think are good and help to meet multiple needs of out-of-school time programs. And again, we've got the hot links in the materials we'll share with you. CitySpan, KidTrack, EZ reports, and UP metrics are all web-based, highly secure systems that enable you to enroll kids into programs, set up activities, print out emergency release forms, and create schedules, any one of a number of things that you would need to manage manage your program, manage your schedule, manage enrollment and attendance. They do vary mainly in two areas that I would keep an eye out on. One is on the quality of the kinds of reports that are coming out of those systems. In my opinion, they vary from horrendous to okay. I'm not at liberty to say which ones I think do horrendous reports and are okay reports. You'll see it. And as well as the extent to which they can integrate with your district student information system. That I think is probably a bigger consideration for most of you here with us today. So for example, some of these systems have seamless integration with your student management system so that if you have a school-based program, the roster of all the kids in your school is available for your after-school program to enroll kids into the after-school, for example. So those are two things that I would really encourage you to look out for if you're thinking about some of these fee-for-service systems. Sorry, allergies and a cough. I live just south of the county that is the grass seed capital of the world. They grow apparently something like 75% of the grass seed in the world. And so spring is really hard because it's just very polleny, very polleny. So let's hop ahead to program quality, the star of the show. So there are, hopefully you all are familiar with the quality standards for expanded learning in California. Awesome quality resource developed by experts from across the state, thinking really deeply about what high quality out of school time program looks like. In development is a self-assessment tool that is aligned with these quality standards. So hopefully that will be available soon. This is a really fantastic frame to use when thinking about quality and your out of school time programs. Easily shiftable into a self-assessment style. Put a check mark next to things you're doing well, put a question mark next to things you're not doing well yet kind of tool. The Youth Program Quality Assessment, the YPQA. You may all have heard of this also as the Weichert tool. They're from the David Weichert Center for Youth Program Quality. This is a really fantastic observational tool that you can use to get a sense of the extent to which high quality positive youth development processes are in place, or experiences, pardon me, are in place in your program. The tool itself is free. If you want to get certified as an official observer, there is a fee associated with that. I think it's about $1,000 a person. But the tool itself is free. Two other observational tools that I really encourage you to check out. One is the Assessment of Program Practices tool, the APAS. It is really robust tool set of assessments, observational tools, youth surveys, staff surveys around program quality. That is really terrific. If you're offering programs in science, technology, engineering, and math, I would encourage you to check out Dimensions of Success. This is an observational tool specific for out-of-school time STEM programs. Now I want to talk about some resources around those youth and family outcomes, and particularly those direct outcomes. Many of the contributory or distal outcomes that I mentioned are going to be coming from your school district. So things like school day attendance, chronic absence, English language learner redesignation, those kinds of things generally are already hosted in your district MIS system. These are tools that I like a lot. Generally are youth and parent surveys that you can use to get a sense of those every kid, every time kinds of outcomes. So the out of school time program evaluation tools for action, as well as the two on the top, toolkit for evaluating positive youth development, very similar, very high quality, set of both guidance around how to create an evaluation framework for your out-of-school time program, as well as sample youth surveys, parent surveys in English and Spanish at different reading levels. So these two up top are some of my go-tos when it comes to surveys for young people and parents. And they're available free on the internet. Some fee-based options that you may want to consider. One is called ELO-Insight. This was developed by some folks who are leaders in the out-of-school time field, who know a lot about youth development. What sets it apart is it's a web-based survey that young people and staff members can take that generates AI-assisted feedback to the program about what to work on. So, for example, if your young people are reporting lower than average levels of engagement, the report that comes back to your program will flag that for your staff and say, this is a little low, here's some things you may want to consider. And or, this is really high, kudos and congrats, keep up with it. So I think ELO-Insight, while it is fee-based, I think it really is worth considering if you're able to, because it does give that more tailored feedback at the site level based on young people and staff members' feedback. The other tool, fee-for-service tool that I'd encourage you to check out is the SAYO-Y. And this is the compatriot to the APAS. And this is, again, part of that larger suite of tools you can learn about. Again, web-based youth survey in multiple languages about kids, both their experiences in the program as well as mindset, skills, abilities they are building as a result of being in your program. And to get really meta, we're going to get really meta. Here's a list of resources on resources. So again, we've got hot links in all of in the materials I'll share with you. There are literally guides to the types of resources I've been talking about. So if you are still wondering, I don't want to just Google something and see what comes up. I'm still wondering what are some high quality resources that are out there. These, again, are some of my go-tos when I'm thinking about how can I find high quality existing tools that are research-based, have already been validated, available in multiple languages for the ages of the kids that I serve. These are the places that I look. And again, we'll send you those hot links in the PowerPoint. I'm going to finally stop talking at you. Yay! Earlier in our session today, we invited you all to talk with one another about some of your go-to resources when it comes to evaluating out-of-school time programs. Eva just shared the link to our slide deck, which you can go into and modify, and we really want you to. You'll see we've got some virtual Post-it notes because no gathering of educational professionals is complete until we pull out the Post-its. So here we've got them. And we're going to invite you to navigate to that Google slide deck and to grab a virtual Post-it and put the name of a go-to resource that you have for out-of-school time evaluation. If you're on your phone, you have a small screen, any of those things, and we prefer to put the name of the resource in the chat, Eva or I will pop it into one of these virtual Post-its. We'll give you just a couple minutes to think about what some of your go-to resources for out-of-school time evaluation are, and to put them in that virtual Post-it.
We're on slide number 12. If you're trying to figure out where to do it, if you just
Pro tip, thank you.
Double click on one of those sticky notes.
Ooh, the CASP. Oh, well done. Whoever recommended that, I love the CASP. Great tool.
I say it wasn't on your list. I was like, oh no, is it outdated now? But I love it.
No, it's so good. It's so good. Awesome, thanks. And somebody noted around easy reports. And that's a great thing to say in favor of some of the fee-for-service enrollment and attendance systems, is that they are very good about aligning their reports with things like 21st century community learning centers. I'm sure they're going to be retooling to align with whatever's coming our way in terms of ELO-P programming. So definitely, again, something to think about if your budget allows it. I appreciate not everybody does, but definitely something to have in mind. Thanks for that reminder. Wonderful. Well, and thank you all so much for sharing your go-to resources. And as more come to mind, please feel free to either drop them in the chat and Eva and I can put them in the virtual post-its, or you're welcome to put them in there yourself. And so last thing I'll say but before I hand it over to Eva Jo to talk about micro practices and out of school time is if anybody who's gotten a free pet, like a cute little puppy, knows that free is not always free. And so, you know, we did want to take care to share resources that were available for evaluation that are low cost or free. And that unfortunately doesn't mean that they run themselves. And so just a consideration to put out there as you're thinking about the kinds of information you're collecting, how you want to be using it. Just thinking about who is actually going to be fielding the surveys, entering the data, all of those sorts of things. Again, some of those fee-for-service options, the reason that they're fee-for-service is because they're charging you to do those things for you. But I just want to encourage you to think about that. In our work with out-of-school time programs, we just try to be really careful to not collect information that no one is going to use, because that is not a good use of people's time and is a great way to have a very grumpy team. And so just encourage you to think about that free puppy that's sitting out there, and realize that even those free and low cost tools do require some care and feeding. So I wanted to mention that, and to share a cute picture of a dog that is smiling at us and giving us a nice little grin. Eva, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Corey. Let's just do a stretch and look away from our computers for a second, because we've been focusing a lot. So just give a chance to roll our shoulders and our necks and take a breath. We're halfway through the session, and we're also pretty much halfway through the week right at this moment. So pat yourselves on the back. You made it halfway through everything so far, hopefully with a bit of grace. And I'll invite you to join me on slide 15. So I was recently doing a workshop at a national conference, and folks there were talking about their evaluation and talking about how top down it often is. And they get asked to fill out these surveys and do all this data and collect all of this stuff at the site level, and then they never hear back about it. Maybe every couple of years there, or maybe once a year, there's some sort of presentation and it's showed back to them what got collected, but it's really not particularly useful to someone who is, say, leading a first grade class, or is coming in as an arts provider every day to do some work with the students. That kind of feedback and evaluation that they're asked to do a lot of the heavy lifting on administering with the youth is not in the end very useful to them. Does that resonate with anyone? Have you heard that from the sites you're working with, from your schools, from your staff? Yeah, I'm seeing thumbs up and head nods. Okay. So what my company did was we teamed up with Public Profit to make a set of everyday CQI practices, which means everyday continuous quality improvement practices that can be implemented at the site level, actually can be implemented at any level, but is designed for folks to just use CQI, to use their evaluation, to use a quality improvement system to actually make their programs better. Again, going back to that STAR center that Corey shared about when she was sharing about the 3 areas to focus on for evaluation, just really looking at the program quality. So this is not a tool that is going to tell you what program quality looks at. It's a tool to support you in any quality improvement efforts that you're trying to make. So we're going to jump in a little bit here. And I want to start on slide 16. If you want to take a quick look, if you remember the quality improvement cycle or any kind of hands-on learning, we start with a personal learning goal or a professional goal. So in this case, it might be we want to make better use of our data, or we want to get better data. Whatever it is, it's whatever's on your mind that you want to have as a goal. So think for a minute for yourself, what might your goal be? And if you want to share it in the chat, if you're not trying to keep it secret, we'd love to hear what are some of your particular goals that you would like to set for yourself around your evaluation with your ELO-P funds. So take a minute to think about that, either write it for yourself, or if you're willing to share it in the chat, go ahead and share it in the chat. And so, great. To collect information your team can use to improve their practice. Super. Thanks, Corey, for giving an example. So the next step would be, what are we going to do to get there? And so you pick something you're going to try out to get there. You're going to try it. That's the bottom, step 3. And then after you've tried it, you're going to reflect, what do you need to change to make it more effective next time? And that's how you create your goal and you start over again at number 1. I hope that sounds familiar to everybody as a continuous quality improvement cycle and a continuous learning cycle. Just want to make sure we're on the same page. So what I want to spend a second on is that number 2, identifying a micro practice to meet your goal. And I want to just start by sharing a video that talks about the use of micro practices. So as you watch this video, and I'm going to put the questions there into the chat so you can have them handy as we're watching the video. And do take a note or two, because we are going to be sharing out. As you watch, notice, what are the characteristics of a micro practice based on what she's talking about? And also thinking about, how could micro practices potentially support continuous quality improvement? So let's take a look at this video, and then we'll share out on what you came up with as you watched. And we are not hearing your sound, Corey.
That's a problem. It sounds terrific to me, but that's not going to help all of you. So sorry. Here we go. Let's try again. Thanks, Eva.
So my client, Susan, what we discovered about her, and you're welcome to give the mic back if you don't want to hold it. What we discovered about Susan is that one of the reasons why it was hard for people to connect with her and why people weren't taking her seriously is because she moved so fast all the time. Everything she did was like trying to get things done, and more and more and more and more things done. And so what was happening is that people couldn't meet her, like she was already gone by the time that they got there, right? I mean, both literally and metaphorically. And so the practice that I gave Susan, which kind of blew her mind, but we tell the story a lot because it worked so well, is that I asked her to just walk more slowly from her car to her office every day for a week. And first she wasn't very happy about that, because it was not an easy thing for her to do. Like, actually to slow down was not something that she had, like, she was very unpracticed in being slower. And that didn't even sound like something she would want to do, because she got a lot of stuff done by moving really fast. But what happened was really striking. So about 3 days into her experiment, which she was very upset about, I get this email from her and she said, Leanne, you'll never believe what's happening. People are literally stopping me in the hall and saying stuff like, I don't know what's different about you this week, but I feel like you're more accessible. I feel like I can actually like get to you now. And she was like, I can't believe that just doing that one thing had such big ripple effects, because just taking mindfully, I mean, you know, if she just walked slow by accident, maybe it would have worked or didn't, but she knew why she was doing it. And it had this whole ripple for the rest of her life. Like, oh, if I can practice that, then instead of always going in high gear, I have maybe a second and a third gear, and there might be times when I'd like to use those. And I don't lose the possibility of what I've already practiced. If we practice something a lot, you can always go back there easily. But maybe you want to have 2 or 3 options so that you can use the right one in the right moment.
All right. So let's start. If you want to join me on the slides again, on slide 18, by sharing out what are some of the characteristics based on what she talked about, or maybe you've read some of the books like Atomic Habits. What are some of the characteristics of a micro practice? So you can type directly into the slide there, or you can unmute and share out anything that you heard. So I see someone wrote small changes, slowing down. Having options, consistent change to make a large impact, being mindful or more intentional, breathing, taking feedback. Great. So the idea with a micro practice, trying something different, is that it's something small. That's the name implies that, right? And then practice. It's something that you do over and over again. And the idea is that by doing it, it's a consistent change that has a larger impact. So instead of saying, I'm going to go do a full 60-minute workout every day at the gym, we say, you know what, that's probably, I'm going to peter out 2 minutes after I try that resolution. I'm going to do something small. I'm going to try to take a 10-minute walk after a long day. You know, you do something small and then you're able to do it more often. And I love this, be aware, reflecting. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into breakout rooms, and these rooms will be about 5 minutes. And in the breakout, the question is on slide 19. We love for you to talk about with your group, how do you use the information that you have about your OST program to support program quality? So how do you use it to get on that cycle of continuous quality improvement? And thinking about what we just saw on micro practices and what you may already know about small changes that have large impacts, what are ways that you could envision using micro practices to support everyday CQI, just everyday continuous quality improvement? So again, introduce yourselves to the folks in your breakout rooms if you don't already know them. And actually just looking at our time, we can do, 6 minutes. Let's give that amount so we can have a few more minutes. We've got some wiggle room. Any questions about what to talk about? And then remember, again, please take notes because we'll share out when we come back into the larger group. Any questions before we go? Okay.
Welcome back, welcome back. Hello, everybody.
Sorry, I can see some of you may have been mid-sentence coming and pulled back in the Harry Potter style. So would love to invite you to share something in the chat that you heard or that you were excited about from somebody in those breakout rooms that you're planning to bring back just as we close. So if you want to take a moment in the chat to add anything that you were excited about, that you heard from somebody. And I'll also invite if anyone wants to unmute and do it, it's a little faster that way if you don't feel like typing. And I may invite a couple of people to share if you're open. Shiloh or Clara or Grace, any of you interested in sharing something? The Fail Fest. I actually did it last week with a group at a retreat, and we got the feedback from the retreat, and it was everyone's favorite thing, where we all just talked about fail. I brought cupcakes, and we talked about all the stuff we messed up on, and we celebrated it, and we cheered, and we were like, yes, we failed at that. Awesome. It was really fun. I mean, mini cupcakes, you know, because we're all so health conscious. But anyway, anything else?
We were talking about the embrace a growth mindset, and we were talking about working with our teams and how important it is to make them feel important and understood, and understanding their anxiety and where this is leading, because what is in their minds and what's really happening, it's big, it's really big, and it's heavy, and not everybody sees it the same way. Some people are stuck in, have been doing this a long time and are just stuck. So busting them out of that and letting them know it'll be fine if it just see the whole picture instead of being stuck in the old ACEs perimeter box. Yeah, that was a conversation our group had.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, go ahead, Shiloh.
We talked about our visions and kind of what you see. Usually we're kind of right in the future, not the 2-year, 4-year, 5-year plan, but investing in those people and that staff to let them know, hey, here you are 2 years now, how can we grow you? Because staff turnover is so big, and how we can contain them and keep that positive energy flowing throughout, not just the right away, but long-term longevity. And also letting them know like where our minds are and where we kind of directly see or meet with maybe the people directly under you, but then that next realm of staff under them, like how much do they know about what's going on, and just being super transparent across the board on what we're working on or what you'll see or what you won't see. Just being more open with staff and helping them grow in that way as well.
I'm thinking about my own kids who are doing the state testing, you know, last week and this week, and like how that can feel so punitive. Like all of our early evaluation experience has some sort of punitive negative feeling, like they don't get to have PE this week, they don't get to have band this week, because it's like all the, and like how can we reverse that for ourselves and the folks we work with and be like, no, this evaluation and this is about helping you grow and get to where you want to be. It's not about the number or what gets put out of the computer when you're done. So thanks for bringing that forward. Towards those ends, I'd love for you to join me on slide 25, and I'll share my screen for those of you who aren't on the slides anymore. But just thinking about adult learning and how we form habits and get better at what we do. Just want you to be aware that that slide is there, slide number 25. And this is based on research in adult learning, which I'm super obsessed with personally. And you might think about which of these are true for you. This is also a nice slide to bring to your staff if you're going to talk about CQI with them, and think about, you know, which ones are really true for them and which ones really help them to learn and grow. So I just want to share that that's there. But sadly, our time is drawing to a close. And so it's time to do a raffle. And so this is our virtual raffle. If I could invite, let's see, Amanda, would you mind typing a number between 1 and 15 into the chat? And then we will do a drum roll, and whoever wins, I'll email you to get your address. Drum roll, please. Number 11, twice in a day. Amanda picked her own number. That is, what are the chances? I am going to go buy a lottery.
So I have to tell you, the reason I picked 11 is because today is the 11th and it's my birthday. And so I thought, oh, I'll just pick 11 because it's my birthday today. So I put 11 in and it was mine.
And you are going to you're going to drop everything and you are going to run to the local 7-Eleven and get yourself a lottery ticket because you are on a roll and it's your lucky day. And happy birthday. How does it feel to be 21?
Thank you. Somebody said you're 22. I'm like, try double that. There you go.
It's my birthday today too. That's crazy.
No way.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yes. Thank you. You too.
Amazing. 2 21-year-olds.
Yeah. Let's go there.
Well, we really appreciate you spending your birthday with us. Wow, I'm totally honored. On slide 27, you can find our contact information. So if you have any other further questions, you know where to find us. And we are gonna send you off into celebrating the rest of your day. And let's all just go off and celebrate Grace and Amanda's birthday. Why not? So thanks for joining us.
Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. Be in touch anytime.
Thank you.